Hello, and welcome to Magic Ad Nauseam, the place for all your Magic Ad Nauseam related needs. I'm Kevin,
I'm Melissa.
and we last night played some Magic the Gathering. What did we play, Melissa?
Two-headed giant.
And what kind of two-headed giant thing did we play?
Pre-release.
For what
What you
set?
Oh God, I don't even know. What is it?
It's called
Doesn't
Oath.
say.
It's called Oath of the
Yes, it does.
Gatewatch.
Oath of the Gatewatch. That's what we were there for.
The box is very shiny, though. It's distracting when you look at the box. It's hard to find the words. You go, oh my god,
It's
it's so
very pretty.
shiny.
It has a little
We got dice. We both
secret
got
symbol at the
the
bottom.
same boring white
It's
die.
this. Yeah, we got the same die. That's weird.
It was totally random. Our opponents didn't get the white die. We got the white
No.
die. For some reason, it was.
We thought maybe they were all
was
white,
fate.
and which is a little bit of a stupid idea, but
They're all white.
But,
it's like the third time I've made that joke, and every time I hate myself. So.
yeah.
But yeah, and we did really well. We went 3-0-1.
Nope,
We took an intentional draw on the last round because basically it ensured that we both got really good. Both us and our opponents got really good prize support. We ended up getting 7 packs each, plus $25 of store credit each. So that's 14 packs between the two of us, and $50 of store credit. So that's a lot. It's really, really good. We're going to open those packs for you in a minute. But first, we're going to talk a little bit about our experience with Two-Headed Giant and how our deck, what went well with our decks, what didn't, how our decks worked, and all that sort of thing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now I caught you.
Magic Ad Nauseam. Nobody likes us in real life, so they watch our show. Nobody knows.
That's even worse. Nailed it.
Yeah. So what I saw was that because we had such a big pool, I had the opportunity to make a deck that was pretty much mono black plus Eldrazi colorless effects. So the special new diamond symbol. And so that's kind of what I went with. The thing that I saw the deck had a lot of, that I had a lot of opportunity to get were cards that ramped me. And so I think one of the things that made me take a lot of the big colorless Eldrazi that we had were I had Kozilek's Translator, which you probably won't be able to say super well. I'll read them to you also just so you see. Devoid, pay 1 life, add a colorless mana to your mana pool. You can only use it once each turn, but he's a 3/5
You
for
should
5.
put a big one up on the screen. How do I make it go? Like
You're okay.
this.
Okay.
Right. And then you put it right there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm
helping.
Yes, you're good. I appreciate the help. Yeah, he's a 3/5 for 5, and he gives you a colorless mana, and he doesn't even have to tap for it. It costs you a life, but in Two-Headed Giant, you have so much life. I didn't think that was going to be a big concern.
I don't
one
think that
game,
ever hurt us.
one game, we got a little close, but otherwise it was totally
but it turned
fine.
out to be fine.
Yeah, we ended up using it anyway. There was just one time Melissa was like, "We're at like 13 life. Are you sure you want to do it?" And I was like, I think we're winning the race, so I guess so. But
Well,
we
spent it literally to win that round, so I was totally okay with it.
Well, we won the next turn.
Whatever.
But yes, I know. Yeah, it was worth. It ended up being worth it. And the other guy is I'm looking at the wrong stack, guys. God, I'm so bad at life. Geometry Warder. Geometry Warder. Woo! He costs 4 colorless, and he has Vigilance. He's a 2/3, and he taps for one of those diamond manas as well. Yep, he's really neat. Partly because he has Vigilance, so he can still attack or sit back on defense and tap to use it at the end of your opponent's turn. So he also was a really good ramp spell. So I had 6 total. I could have put 1 more in, and I cut it just because I wanted other stuff in the deck. So those were in there to help me ramp up to about 7 mana really quick. And at 7 mana, we had
good stuff.
A Ruin Processor. This is from last set, so most people probably know what this is already. He's a 7/8 for 7 mana. When he comes into play, if your opponent has something in exile, you can take it out of exile and gain 5 life. Move it to the graveyard.
And we did Two-Headed Giant last time, right? And we had him, and he was also really good then too.
Yep. So he's just a big threat. We didn't end up being able to have anything exiled for them. I had a few cards that would have exiled things for them, but they just never came up. So mostly he was just a 7/8 for 7 mana. But that was fine. We did absolutely fine with that. We also got 2 of the new guy, Dread Defiler. He's not very playable in Standard, I don't think, but he's a pretty neat guy. He's 7 mana for 6/8, so kind of a lot like the other guy. And he has an extra ability of pay 3 mana and 1 colorless. So 3 generic, 1 colorless. Exile creature from your graveyard. Target opponent loses life equal to the exiled card's power. Now, in our deck, since we're playing 2 of this guy and a Ruin Processor, that has the opportunity to potentially do a whole lot of damage to somebody. In fact, there was one game
Yeah,
where a rune
that
processor
was-
was sitting in the graveyard, and I mean, they're probably going to use a kill spell on him anyway, but it forced
Right.
them to kill this guy right away, because otherwise on my turn I was just going to be like, I do 7 damage to you and exile this card. So
Yep.
that would
No,
end
he
up
was
being
good.
pretty good. Endless One I never ended up using. He is just useful anytime in the game. He costs X mana for an XX. That's all he does. But again, you ramp up and then you go, I put down an 8/8 or whatever.
This guy.
Yeah. And then another one, we got this guy at least, I think, 2 of our 3 games.
I think so. He
And
was really good.
He ended up being a powerhouse for us. You can see him right there. He's called Endbringer. So he's not picking up super well on the camera just because it's focusing on us, which is fine. He's a 5/5 for 6. One of those 6 has to be colorless. You can tap him to deal 1 damage to target creature or player. So he's great. You can control. You can kind of get rid of all their little dinky guys,
Yeah,
which
I
was useful
mentioned
once
this
or
part, which
twice.
is important.
I'll mention that last.
Okay.
You pay a colorless, so it has to be specifically colorless, this diamond symbol, and tap him to make target creature can't attack or block this turn. That was very useful in a lot of games. And in one of the games, this last ability was very useful too, which is pay 2 colors. They have to be totally colorless, so the diamond symbol, tap, draw a card. So the thing that makes him really cool is he's a 5/5 for 6 mana. He has all those cool abilities, and he also has his last ability, which makes him way better, which is untap him during each other player's untap step.
He was really good.
So basically,
It's also just a 5/5.
yeah.
Sometimes we got counters on him to make him bigger.
Yeah, we got a counter on him one time with the support card. I think it was your relief captain. And that made him a 6/6, and I could like swing at them for 6, and then on their turn deal damage to them. I don't think I ever made him do the other 2 in that game, but the first game I did that a lot to let us get guys through and draw extra cards. Because that first game I was a little mana flooded, so I was just like, oh, I can just draw cards for days. Like, draw 1 card on my turn, 1 card on your turn. So he definitely gave me the push I needed to get through. And so yeah, I had ramp, I had those big threats, and then what I tried to do with the little threats, which worked out quite well in a couple of games, is I had smaller threats that had mana dumps. So the big ones, I think, I'm going to take out the 2 that I thought were the most useful. I do want to mention one more card right there.
Yeah, you should definitely mention these ones.
He became useful 1 game. And I think this is the other guy that I ended up using a bunch of. And I had a couple little removal spells in there too. But everybody has a couple little removal spells. Before I move on to the mana dumps, I'm going to talk about this dude, Eldrazi Mimic. He's a 2 cost for a 2/1, and whenever you play a colorless creature, you can make him have the power and toughness of that creature. So
which is good when you have a lot of Eldrazi.
in a game where you're playing Endless One, Dread Defiler, and Ruin Processor, he could be very mean. There was one game where we forced his removal eventually. I think he had already swung in once as a Rune Processor 7/8.
Yeah.
Turned him into a 7/8 and swung in. But there's another time we were about to turn him into a 6/8, and they were just like, no, we're killing him before that resolves. So he's a 2/1, and we just burned him out. But yeah, he ended up being very, very good. He was also one of our promo cards. We have the fancy date stamp on him. I don't think he's necessarily that good a card overall, but in this shell for limited,
it worked for.
I was a little suspicious whether he was even worth it, and he definitely ended up being worth it just because I had enough big drops. And then I also had some mana dumps. So if they kill off, kind of the game plan is if they kill off all your big drops, so you don't happen to draw them, you can use these guys, and they're still really good. The one that won us our closest game was Havoc Sower. Melissa had a guy that made this unblockable that we'll talk about in a minute, or we can talk about it now if you want, but I figure we'll just talk about it in a minute. Havoc Sower is a 3/3 for 4 mana, and then pay 1 and a colorless, so 1 and a diamond symbol to give him +2/+1 until end of turn.
Yep.
You can do that as much as you want. At the end of the game, I could do that 4 times. So he had +8/+4, so he ended up being a 11 plus 11/7, I guess. So that's a lot of damage. They were at 13. And basically, I had him. I pumped him a ton. I swung in, did 11 damage to them, and took them to they were at 12. I took them to 1 life.
Yeah, they were at 12.
I took him to 1 life, and then I had Endbringer online. I was like, oh, I tap Endbringer and kill you. That was pretty good. So yeah, that made me happy. He definitely worked out the way I'd kind of expected him working out. And whatever other games we won with this guy, he's a little less exciting. His name is Essence Depleter, but he also has works well with my ramp deck because he has a really good repeatable effect. And his repeatable effect is, so he's a 3 cost for a 2/3 devoid, pay 1 and a colorless, so a little bit like the other guy. Target opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. And so when your opponent's at 4 life, and you have a ton of mana, which I think the state we were in, it's just like tap all my stuff, it'll just kill you, and then we gain a little bit of life back. It wasn't super relevant, but
No, it works.
he definitely worked well in this rampy kind of shell, which is what I was kind of going for a ramp shell. And so that was mostly my deck.
Show them the other promo.
Oh sure, yeah. The other promo actually that card did some work too. Where is that? It's
don't know. In your
this pile.
Oh.
Boo.
There it is. That's the other promo we got.
Seagate Wreckage, which is also a really neat card. This taps for a colorless, which is very relevant in my deck. So I had a bunch of cards that, other than this, I just had swamps basically. I technically had a Mortuary Mire that never came into play, but I had a bunch of other lands that tap for colorless. But I also had Seagate Wreckage, which taps for colorless. What Seagate Wreckage does is, if you don't have any cards in hand, you can pay 2 generic and 1 colorless, tap it to draw a card. So that's
good.
And that first game, that like I said, I ended up drawing a bunch of cards off of Endbringer. I also ended up drawing a bunch of cards off that. I ended up really mana flooded and super grindy.
I always get a crappy promo, so I was happy to get like a decent one.
Yeah.
For once.
I don't know how good it is, but it certainly seems really fun. It certainly seems good.
Way better than half the other things I get. So
yeah, it seems like a good promo to me. And it seems like I could see this getting played in Standard. I could see it getting a lot of play in things like Commander. So that was really fun. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much my deck in a nutshell. And it obviously went 3-1-0, so it worked out really well. Talk a little bit about your deck.
My deck was more support because I didn't have like big giant creatures. I have this one guy.
Yeah, that guy's cool. Really good.
We never actually got to play him though. Oops. Oh no, it's this way.
Yeah, we almost played him one time, but we just had better things
Sphinx
to do.
of the Final Word. He's a 5/5. You can't be countered. He has flying, hexproof. Instant and sorcery spells you control can't be countered by spells or abilities.
Yeah.
So he's pretty cool, but we didn't get a chance to play him.
Yeah, I think we had him in hand, but we ended up making that playing the guy who makes people unblockable to burst through for the damage that I was talking about. Yeah.
So basically, I just went through the blue stuff and picked out decent things, and then I went through the white stuff and picked out decent things.
Yeah.
There wasn't that much, so it was a lot of felt like really obvious choices, but we've done a lot of two-headed giant at this point, so. And always go with flying. Flying is so good.
Flying definitely, it helped us get in for a bunch of free damage, and in a couple of games, our opponent just had a lot of flying, and it really it blocked them and kept them from doing a lot. They knew the
flying secret.
Yeah, they kept them from doing a lot of stuff to us by going up the air. So that was.
And then
useful.
This guy helped us win a game. I don't know if you can.
Yep. That's the guy we were talking about before. Well, you can't really beat it, but it's alright.
Coral Helm Guide.
Yep.
It's colorless and a blue. It's a 2/1 Merfolk Ally Scout. I read that backwards.
That's fine.
It's a 4 blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn.
Yep. So it costs a lot of mana, but you can make a creature unblockable, which for our deck,
which helped get the big.
Mostly for my deck, was super useful. And then as you can see from my deck, I didn't have a lot of low drops, so Melissa made up for that by having a few low drops.
I have a lot of 3-cost drops.
Yeah, well,
this guy was really good. The Sphinx flying guy.
He was really good.
Shwar Isle Avenger. He's a 3/3, and it's very easy to play him 4/3, not for whatever this is 5. That's ridiculous. And he has flying, and he's 3/3. Played him all the time. He was really good. I got these crummy walls just to stop big creatures coming through. Had negates, which we didn't use very much.
We used ones. It was good when we used it.
I thought this card was going to be really good, and I almost never got it.
Yeah, I think we just didn't draw it very much, but it's really cool. Shoulder to shoulder. I mean, as a cantrip, that makes your army bigger. In limited, I think it's great.
Comparative analysis.
That draws you some cards.
That was really good. And this was, I think, the best card.
I think that was probably the MVP for us.
I got 2 of them.
2 Reflector
Mage. That'll help you win real quick.
Read what his ability does? Just so people know.
So much, though.
I can read it if you want.
No, I'm going to read it. It's a colorless, a white, and a blue. He's a human wizard.
He is.
He's a 2/3. When Reflector Mage enters the battlefield, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That creature's owner can't cast spells with the same name as that creature until your next turn. So it buys you lots of time.
Yes, and this was very disruptive. We played it one time on an opponent's 6-drop, and it locked them out from a lot of things while we were still developing our board.
This was really
definitely
good.
Yes, that one definitely worked out super well for us.
Doing draft or whatever. grab these.
What were the
Really
other
good.
What were the other MVPs from your side for us? Probably this guy we
That
talked about
guy.
already. The 3/3 flying for Surge cost.
This one
Surge
helped
cost
us,
3.
right? This one helped us win.
Oh, that one was a big one. Yeah, we only got to play it once. It's
I got a
really
foil one.
expensive, but it
It's
ended up being a bomb when we did
Rolling
play it.
Waters. Return up to 2 target creatures your opponents control to their owner's hand. Target player draws 2 cards. It's not like super good or anything, but in Two-Headed Giant, it was by the end of the game, you return their 2 big creatures, and you swing in with everything,
I mean,
and you get 2 cards.
Basically, it's really, really good. It's just also 7 mana.
Yeah.
And so 7 mana is a lot. But at the end of the game, we took their 2 biggest creatures off the field. She got to draw 2 cards, and then we just swung them with a lot of stuff, and that helped win a lot.
Eldrazi Sky Spawner is really good.
Yeah, he's very good at like gumming up the field, and he gives you a free thing to sack to give you a little bit of extra mana, which helped us ramp into some of the super big things occasionally. I think the other MVP might have even been that guy. You think?
Relief Captain.
He definitely
he was
helped us.
Right.
He definitely
helped.
We played him 2 games,
part.
and especially the game that was really close. He made my Endbringer a 6/6 and made some other guy big enough to kind of trade with opponent stuff. And so he definitely boosted our team to a point where we were able to make good trades, and he traded 1-for-1 with somebody. So
I thought this
he
guy
put us in a good position.
Would be super ridiculously good, but it just didn't happen very much.
Yeah, I think he is pretty good in limited. So we should talk about a little about what he is.
It's Prophet of Distortion. He costs 1 blue. He's an Eldrazi drone. He's a 1/2. He has Devoid and pay 3 and a Wasteland and draw a card.
Yeah, so 4 mana.
So I thought this was gonna. I thought I was just gonna go nuts drawing cards, but I needed to play other things.
Yeah, it never ended up being useful to us just because you always had stuff to play.
Yeah.
I think if you had gotten him out in that first game, which ended up being really kind of long and grindy,
it would have been.
It would have been better. I think the when you got him out in was it the second game or the third game? Whichever one it was.
I played him first turn in like the last game.
Yeah, it was the third game. That's
or
what
no, was it the third game? I don't know. It all blends together.
I don't
in
remember.
A giant mess.
Maybe I thought it was the third game, but it could have been the earlier one. But yeah, he's a good card, but he just whatever game we played him in, we just kept having stuff where we're like, but we need to spend all 7 of our mana on this thing. But if you play a deck that runs out of stuff to do, he's gonna fill back up your hand and be absolutely amazing, especially in limited, maybe even in standard. I don't know.
I think he's actually pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's really good too. And Wall of Resurgence is really cool. We didn't end up getting to use it.
Countered.
Yeah, it got countered when we played it. We didn't end up getting to use it for full effects, but it's 3 mana for. You can talk about it actually.
It's Wall of Resurgence. 2 colorless and a white. It's a wall. It's a 0/6. Has defender. It's a wall.
It's pretty handy.
Okay. When Wall of Resurgence enters. When Wall of Resurgence enters the battlefield, you may put 3 +1/+1 counters on target land you control. If you do, that land becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste that's still a land. So it's pretty good for 3 mana.
For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 and a 0/6. So yeah, I think very strong.
Better than
very
that
strong.
Rampart.
Kevin like.
Got countered, and I was like, okay.
So yeah, I mean that was pretty much it. We drew our last game. I'm kind of happy we drew our last game. I mean, we might have had a pretty good chance to win, but it was also against the guy who had won a GP in the last year. So I was totally fine just being like, I'll just take $50 in store credit and 14 packs. That sounds good. I mean, if we lost, we still would have had we'd have gotten 10 packs and no store credit.
I was getting sleepy. So
yeah, it was getting pretty late. It was like we didn't get home until like 10:30 or so.
Yeah.
So. And Melissa's an old.
I'm an old lady who likes to go to bed early.
But yeah, we had a lot of fun. We were really worried coming into it that our decks weren't going to be that good. I think my big fear about mine was I liked what my deck was going to do. I just was worried that people would have more aggressive decks and we wouldn't be able to stop them from wrecking us before I got all this stuff out. And I will say that third game, which was really close, they did put us on the back foot really quick. But we did, they only got us like 15 before we started managing stuff and then we came back.
The Reflector Mage is
turned those
games.
Yes, I absolutely agree. He was he was an all-star.
Was ridiculous. If you get
and the Big Eldrazi also won its games because when we had the Big Eldrazi on, they just you could hear that their team talking. They just sit there like, well, I don't know what we do about all this stuff.
Right.
And they just
well, because you have your Big Eldrazi and then you play this guy on one of their big creatures, and then suddenly. What are they gonna do?
They better block. They don't want to take 7 damage, which means they block poorly, which means they lose a guy, and then I put out more stuff, and then they go, this sucks. So
these are really good to draft or sealed or whatever.
Yeah, Get
Use
those.
this one. It's good.
That guy's awesome. High five. We did it.
We did it.
Yeah. Nah. All right.
And then you can see us open the packs.
You're going to see us open the packs in a second.
Super exciting.
Goodbye, Internet.
1, 2, 3, 4. Magic ad nauseam, magic ad nauseam. Nobody likes us in real life, so they watch our show. Nobody knows.
Nailed it.
My butt look better now? That's going in the blooper reel. Does my butt look better now? And I say, looking back at my butt.
You're so corny. Don't put that one in there. That's even worse.
Okay.
Now just pan over to me. Mm.
Nailed it. Okay.